name is Bill Atkinson, and I'm president of Atkinson Strategic Communications, a Baltimore based public relations, crisis communications, and strategic communications firm. And I'm here today with Larry Letow, chairman of the Cybersecurity Hall of Fame, and he's also the U.S. CEO of CyberCX, a cybersecurity company with, I think, 1,300 employees, Larry, and you operate in the U.S., UK, Australia, and New Zealand?
Yep, including Canada as well.
Canada, all right. So I wanted to ask you questions about the Cybersecurity Hall of Fame. That is an interesting organization, and you've got something coming up in December. Can you tell us about the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, so the Hall of Fame was really started around 2011 with Rick Garretts and myself. It was a conversation that we were having over breakfast one day, and how do we recognize those individuals that have provided this industry that we make money at, right? And we wanted to find a way to recognize them and give them the due that they deserved. You got to remember, cyber's not around that long, right? We had sort of cryptographic, and then we had information assurance, and then we went into cyber, right? So really, these people that really was in the early cryptography and information assurance couldn't talk about it, right? So they would go home, and a lot of times you would ask these people what they did. They would always say the State Department or I worked for the U.S. government. So we met with this gentleman named Mike Jacobs, who also was in the Hall of Fame. He was the first information assurance director at NSA, and sort of talked to him about how do we recognize these people and how do we bring them together. And he really worked with us to help create really the initial Cybersecurity Hall of Fame, the first event, which General Alexander keynoted, who at that time ran NSA. So it was really and then what we've learned is how important it is to recognize these people, right? You do it to showcase their outstanding achievement, inspire others to greatness, and preserve legacy. So it really it's been just a sort of a labor of love.
Yeah. So you have an event, December 5th?
December 5th.
So what's that all about?
Just recognizing in this class of 2024, we'll be recognizing Admiral Mike Rogers, who was really followed General Alexander, right? His leadership in really safeguarding the two top U.S. government cyber agencies. Edna Conway, she secured her expertise was around securing the supply chain. Paul Nielsen, who advanced research in cybersecurity. James Roskin's going in, who really contributions to internet protocols. Alan Paler, who was really started and was the CEO for SANS Institute. And if you're in the cyber industry, you know SANS Institute from training. And of course, Robert and Heather Rodriguez, who founded Cynet, who helped about 2,500 companies or more with their innovation by creating this ecosystem around them.
Yeah. And so how do you decide who's going to be inducted?
Yeah, it's a great question. Really, there's two ways. One is, so we go through the nominations every year, and we basically, there's a team of people that sort of cut that down to a reasonable number. Because you get a lot of nominations of people sometimes just trying to bring attention to their product. And once you do that, there's a board of advisors that goes through and they vote. And the voting is based on a scoring system, but the scoring system has to work two ways. One is they reach a minimum level of votes, and they have to appear on X number of ballots. So, and that usually is probably the top, 4 or 5 people every year. But then there's there's always a couple people that every year, because we carry, if you reach a certain level, we also carry you into the next year and following. But there's always a group of people that maybe just miss it, but for years have hit consistency. And so there's another part of the organization that also votes them in for their great consistency. And we've also classified it into 2 eras. We have the original foundational era, which is these people that have been around for years. And then the new era, which is called transformational, which is like Robert and Heather Rodriguez, who have really changed the way in this current state of cyber where we are today.
Yeah. So These people are generally used to living in the shadows, aren't they? So you're really highlighting their work.
Yeah, I mean, the early people are. I mean, if you look at some of the earlier individuals that went in, Ravesh, Shamir, Adelman, these are people that created the RSA token that we use today, simply like this that I use today, right? And Sheila Brand, who did the trusted computers, and famous people, like if you go around and you talk in the cyber industry, Whit Diffie and Marty Hellman, who created secure transactions, the way we do things on the internet today. So those people probably weren't talking about it back then. And then we have sort of the transformational era that people do, are very well known. You have like Ron Gula, one of the three co-founders of Tenable, a local company headquartered in Colombia, right? Who, built a product around vulnerability management, and now is a huge, investor in cyber with probably investments in like 30 plus companies.
Yeah, wow. And and two-factor authentication. It's kind of the bane of everybody's existence, but it really is, it's that layer of security. And that came out of some of
Yeah,
your
RSA, the
inductees.
RSA token, which is really probably one of the initial stages where you go to log in, but then you have to use a secondary device, right? And people had those 6 digits. At every minute it would reset, and people still do it today. But now we can use it on the phone. And they send you an email with the code. So there's many different ways. But yeah, that really started, and those people are recognized in the Hall of Fame.
So there's also a charitable component to this. What you're raising money, and where does that money go?
Yeah, I mean, last year we had a great partnership with the National Crypto Foundation, Cryptological Foundation. This year with a high school, or really a school that goes, I think, very early to through high school, called Loyola Blakefield, and they're a very special school. Over 100 kids are in the cyber program. And I always remind people that, when you and I went to high school, in the gym were the banners of the basketball championship, women's volleyball or softball championships, whatever it is. In their school, they have cyber banners, right? Because that's the importance that they play. So we're giving all the money this year to them.
And how much will you raise? Can you give us a figure?
Uh, it's always, it varies, but in the five-figure
All right,
range.
that's great. That's a good.
So I think last year it was 25,000 plus.
That's a nice chunk of change for the school.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for the school. It's good for the the community, and they take a lot of trips. They do a lot of these cyber contests that they travel around the world. So help offset that. Scholarships if certain kids need scholarships, it'll help offset that.
All right. So tell us about City Biz listeners about um, yourself. How did you get into the cyber game and your progress through the industry?
Yeah, so probably I grew up in the tech world. Started early in my career, but then got involved with a company called Convergence, which we did secure data centers. We were help building secure data centers for government agencies and commercials, and that sort of led me into becoming one of the early part of a software called Intelligent ID, which was insider threat. And back then, you would go to these sales calls and you try to sell, and people would like, I'm never going to, use insider threat to spy on my employees. Which, of course, you can see in such a short time that's become the norm, right? And you're not spying; you're just securing your data at the time. But people sort of equated it back then to spying. But that was sort of my huge entrance into it, and just sort of became part of blessed to become part of this organization called CyberCX, which has grown tremendously. It's a global cybersecurity services company with over 1,400 people now. Specializing in end-to-end cyber security services. From strategy and risk to compliance to security testing. Cloud security, network security, all the way from security operation centers, MSSP stuff to digital forensics incident response. And the bottom line is, in today's, as you secure organizations, you can't put all your money in one bucket and say, and now I'm safe, right? You got to understand that there's many avenues to secure your environment, and we wanted to build an organization that could help companies across the board.
So let's talk about that safety. And I think you've used the terminology or the term moat in the past. That was the strategy. What was the strategy and how has it changed?
Well, I mean, early on, we we were never concerned people on the inside, right? We just assumed if you stop people from getting in, and that's if you could stop people from getting in, you were secure, right? You and I talked the other day, and we talked about sort of the M&M, right? Hard candy shell outside and really not on the inside. But that thought process has changed. So now you realize part of your security has to include policies, compliance. How are you setting up your systems to make sure that they're secure? What products are you using? How often are you doing testing? Probably one of the most important aspects is training your team, not only from an educational standpoint, for phishing and how you could be tricked, but even if you do get a breach, how do you react to it, right? And so you need to have a balanced attack on that, and that's clearly strategies that successful companies are implementing, and we do that to help them.
And so, what's different about hackers today? There's got to be a vast difference from, say, 10 years ago. With
Yeah, I mean, I think ultimately it's sophistication, right? I mean, first of all, the technology is getting better, right? They're using the same technology that we're using to stop them, right? AI and other capabilities. They're becoming because people are not paying ransom, so they're becoming a little more violent in their attacks, right? They're using deepfake audios now and deepfake videos to try to trick you. Besides phishing, they're tying that into other avenues as part of their attack. So it's the game is changing. So the good news is we keep on advancing, and we're doing more and more things to help secure organizations. But again, we have to respect the fact, and we talked about this, that it's not if, right? It's when. So you have to be ready, and part of that is you're not going to stop them from getting in. What you're going to do is your goal is to resilience, right? Your goal is to be able to keep on working through the process as you get back control of your environment.
Yeah. So, talk a little bit about deep fakes because that is, we've seen some of that in the most recent election. Locally we saw a principal at a school uh, really lose his job because of a deep fake. How does that is that just another iteration of hacking, or how does that play into things?
Well, I mean, yeah, it's really clearly it's part. Like one of my friends' organizations got tricked because of deep fake audios, right? They mimicked the audio of one of the company officers and was able to get somebody to send money, right? So it's happening, and part of it is they didn't train their employees to recognize that this could happen. So naturally, when you hear the voice of somebody that you trust, you're assuming that it's correct, right? And so those are the sort of what's happening now, and so you don't need a lot. I think the rule is you need like 9 to 10 seconds of an audio for it to completely allow you to mimic that. So it's scary out there.
Now, I don't know if this is true, but somebody had told me that there are call centers. If somebody's holding you for ransom and you don't pay them directly, go to their call center. Is that true, or is that
Well, man,
hyperbole?
yeah, it's tough to say. I mean, first of all, if you look at the individuals that they sort of go after, right? Sometimes it's age, right? They know people that aren't as technical and can be tricked easily. Sometimes it's people that are under heavy stress at work, like is it the finance department, and listen, these people, they study organizations, right? They don't come up with a figure. They know exactly who they're targeting. They probably know how much revenue you have, which is very common. They know how much you can afford, and their goal is to get something out of you, and as fast as they can, because they know over time the longer you wait to pay, you're trying to rebuild and take control of your environment, and so they're trying to get that money out of you as quick as possible.
And is it small companies that need to worry, or do they fly so far under the radar, or is it the big companies?
Everybody needs to worry, right? I mean, once you think you don't need to worry, that's probably the target, right? And these, they're using artificial intelligence to attack multiple companies at the same time. They're not investigating one company at a time. They're sending out massive amounts of phishing and hoping somebody clicks on it, and then once somebody clicks on it, then they go after you.
Oh, you're making me feel really good, Larry.
You're really safe here, right?
Yeah. So a couple more questions. Where does Maryland fit into the world of cyber?
I mean, Maryland has a really great great place, right? I mean, we have NSA, we have Cyber Command, we have NIST. So three really just top agencies that really focus on cyber. So we're blessed with that, right? We have hundreds and thousands of jobs. In the private sector, we have John Hopkins Applied Physics Labs and other corporations that are headquartered here in Maryland. Even Tenable, big product corporation. So we're blessed to that. For years, we missed the other component of it was dollars, but now dollars seem to be flowing. So that's sort of like the final part of the the epicenter that you need. Yeah, I mean, we need to continue that. We have education, we have colleges that are focusing on it. So we're really in a great place. We just have to maintain it and keep on pushing.
So when you're talking about dollars, you're really talking about maybe investment bankers coming in.
Yeah, investment, private equity, all
Where's
that
that?
across the board.
Is that all stuck out in Silicon Valley or in other places? Or
Well, I mean, for years, that's where you went, right? If you wanted to get funding, you would have to be on that coast, right? And what we're seeing now is we don't have to be that. And we have companies like, Gula Tech Adventures that are, investing in 30 plus companies. We have other capital type entities that are, investing here in Maryland. So, it's great. I mean, it doesn't hurt us that we have these government agencies, but these government agencies were really founded on sort of services, right? Providing people to work there. Now, we're sort of changing that model and helping them by, selling products into there as well.
All right. So December 5, tell us again what's going to happen. Remind the viewers of City Biz.
Yeah, December 5th, Maryland Live, Hotel and Casino. Class of 2024 is going in. Great cocktail party, great dinner, great after party, great networking. Go to www.cybersecurityhalloffame.org.
All right, excellent. Larry, thank you very much for your time, and we appreciate the time with City Biz viewers. So thank you.